I don't wear sunscreen. Talk to me about the health benefits of the sun and why we maybe don't need sunscreen.
We are living quite an inflammatory lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're internally inflamed, the sun can kind of aggravate that, and you don't have the antioxidants, you don't have the reservoir of antioxidants to combat that potential for oxidative stress, right? So if you live an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, you take a lot of antioxidant supplementation, and you work up your base coat in the sun, you can start to tolerate the sun instead of...
This is terrible advice. Sunscreen is good for you. It protects you against UVA, UVB rays from the sun, which are bad for you. You know what they do? They cause cancer. Cancer is bad for you. The other thing they do, they make you look old with wrinkles and they damage your skin. Not good. So yes, sunscreen's great. All this talk about base coat protecting you from burning and from damage from the sun, it's pure fantasy. Doesn't happen. Still get damage. You know, sorry. This guy talks a lot about antioxidants. You think he's got some for sale? Maybe. I don't know. And my last point, I want to address the chatter about how sunscreen is preventing the benefits of the sun from reaching you, and oh, isn't that terrible? It doesn't. You still get the vitamin D. You still get all the mood effects, you know, that the sun can bring you. You're fine. It does great. Use sunscreen. Do cosmetic filler injections with hyaluronic acid really cause cancer? Of course they don't. But these articles get published and then patients come into my clinic and I have to explain to them that this is complete baloney, right? So this is a great example of how these kinds of rumors and extreme stories propagate all over the internet. I'm talking about this now because I just went to Vegas Cosmetic Surgery Conference and this came up as one of the conversations on stage in terms of what do we do about all these myths that are all over the place on social media. This started when a plastic surgeon from New York presented data that under-eye filler can obstruct a little bit of the lymphatic flow in that area after injection. Now, this is not a new observation. We know this, and we know it causes no clinical impact. And as a matter of fact, if there's a little bit of swelling afterwards, you can always put a little bit of enzyme in there and dissolve the filler, and everything goes away and it's all fine. Now, the issue is that then he speculated that this little bit of blockage will cause health problems. Is there any evidence of that? None. And so this journalist then went on to say, oh, well, if it causes health problems, it must cause cancer because lymph nodes have something to do with cancer. Ridiculous. Anyways, I don't see this paper in PubMed. I don't think it ever got published because the evidence is weak. But, however, of course, the rumor gets started and goes on and on. And so we have to talk about it. Thanks. There was an article that was just posted in Allure that I thought was really quite good. It talked about how some injectables can make a future facelift more difficult, technically more complicated, and more risk for complications as well as poor results. She talked to a bunch of plastic surgeons who agreed that using a lot of biostimulants like dilute radius or Sculptra, or using threads, or using deep energy devices like Ulthera or like some of the RF energy devices could cause scarring. Because what we're talking about when we talk about stimulating collagen is that we're causing controlled scarring. Now, for most patients, that's quite effective in doing what we wanted to do, but for some, they scar more than others, and sometimes those patients can't present with issues. Now, I've spoken to a bunch of plastic surgeons as well, and they say that most of the patients they operate on have had something like biostimulatory or energy devices, and it's no problem to do the operation, but occasionally you can get a problem. But in my conversation, what I consistently hear is that what complicates their facelifts more often than anything else is poorly done previous procedures like starter facelifts or mini lifts and things like that people get when they're not really yet ready for a facelift, and they're not good candidates, but they get them on the cheap because they think that if they get it early, they can have better results later on. So what to do? Read the caption. We are here with Rhonda. Rhonda, how long have we known each other for?
20 years.
20 years, man. It's a long time. She's actually, I look like hell. With over 20 years, she looks great. She looks the same as it was 20 years ago. What I want to do is just bring her chin down a little bit. Her projection is okay, but I'd like to round out her chin a little bit and then bring it down a little bit. So basically that her lower third of her face is in proportion, the proportion that we want, which is 1/3 here, 2/3 here. Okay? So I'm going to use Volux, which is frankly my favorite filler for the chin, to advance the chin area. It's robust enough to bring tissue forward or down or whatever direction I want, but also reversible and with a nice smooth result as long as you have a lot of tissue coverage over where you place the filler. So here we go.